It also gave me an opportunity to change the door frame, and you can see with the trim here, I've done something a bit different on the top because, yeah, the staircases don't exactly behave in the same way. They don't connect up properly, which is a bit annoying. However, I can easily get my hands on brick this time, so I'm going to create a more realistic chimney. So I've now completed the exact same house with the exact same dimensions, but it's now detailed with all of the stuff that you can get your hands on in beta. So as you can see, it is an upgrade, in my opinion, from our alpha house. The main thing is that we're able to add a trim because there's another grey block that has a staircase introduced. The other thing is the big use of trapdoors. I've had to use trapdoors maybe a bit too much on this one in order to improve it. I've also used fence gates to kind of add this sort of tiki torch on here. So for the most part, it stayed the same. I've even added some vines here. Vines were introduced between these versions. And of course, I've just kind of kept everything very similar. And there we have our finished beta house. Now remember, I'm taking the exact same house, style, layout, and dimensions, and simply trying to improve it based on the availability of new blocks and techniques. I think I've done quite well, but in beta there wasn't really that much difference. So it's got a trim, a few more trapdoors. But to really see the difference in this exact same house, let's bring it all the way up to date to see how it would be done in today's version. And now we land in the most recent version, which is 1.13.2. Now obviously it's going to be 1.14 fairly soon, but at the time of recording, this is the most recent version. And my goodness, can you just tell the difference between alpha, beta, and now just by looking around? Look at all the different biomes, look at all the different spacing between trees, the different kinds of trees. It's absolutely nuts. So now we're basically spoiled for choice. Look at how many blocks and items are in the game compared to the really small list. It's not even done, the small list in beta. Now this is going to be tough because I could do oak log and oak planks like I have been, but if I was given the option to build this exact house now, I would probably choose a different palette. I think what I'm going to do is keep the roof the same, but I'm actually going to change it to spruce, because spruce, for me, is my favorite block in Minecraft, especially among the woods. But this wasn't available in alpha or beta, so I would have done that had it been available. There we have our very basic box, and I did use stone brick, but I've actually got spoiled for choice again, because I could choose different kinds of doors now, which I couldn't do. I think I'm going to go for the dark oak. I think it fits rather nicely in there. I don't have to use gravel. I can actually create path blocks, which is great. Even the detail on the door can be improved. Even really small things like just having different colored glass panes, again, makes such a huge difference. This is going to look really different. Despite being the same shape, the same size, everything, this should feel very, very different. And even now, just by having the upside down staircases, I'm able to make this trim look much more succinct. Now, obviously, I'm just building a very, very simple house in each of these versions. It's just to show what each of them might look like in each era. If I was to do an even bigger build, the results might be slightly different. But by having a very small house, you can see the changes much clearer. Another small thing to point out that has made building in this version, or the most current version, is simply being able to middle click. It brings it and replaces whatever's in your inventory. It makes it so much faster. All of the different trapdoors give me way more options, and it's only just now that I'm realizing how limited it is. But here's the thing, and this is what's going to be really difficult to understand without actually have done the exact exercise that I've just been doing. And that is, despite building this house, this exact same house, 3 different times, it felt completely different every single time I've built it. And that's because alpha, beta, and now feel like completely different games. In alpha, the pace of building is so much slower, but because of the middle click feature that I personally couldn't live without anymore, I've built this in 15 minutes when In beta, it took me nearly 2025. By streamlining the building process, I know that I've swapped from survival to creative, but by streamlining it, the pace of the game changes, and therefore the feeling that you get when you play it changes. And neither are good nor bad, they're just different. Things are almost finished with this build now. It's very similar. I'm just trying to demonstrate all the different things that I think that can be done with this one, instead of trying to make something that, you know, absolutely looks brilliant. I'm just trying to sort of demonstrate all of the different things. And I think I can now officially call this house finished. Now, the reason it looks so much more detailed than the other ones that I've done, maybe we should go over them, it's just because there's more available, there's more options. So, right, let's take a closer look. I've obviously added a lamppost because I was able to with the hopper. If I did this in alpha or beta, it would just be a torch on a pole. So obviously I was able to change some of the blocks. I went to spruce and I changed oak log into stripped spruce wood. I've changed the trapdoors to be spruce as well, and I've changed the front door. Just having those options available, nothing has changed in the design of the house. It's simply the palette of what's now available. By being able to place slabs on both sides of a block, I was able to create this nice trim underneath. And up here I was able to make much more space efficient roofing over the top, and I was able to put even little things like flower pots on top of the chimney. The detailing is much more significant. The windows themselves, they're just slightly different colour, and I was able to place these upside down to give them a better feel. I even put some mushroom block around the back to make it seem like there's mushrooms growing on it. Wouldn't be able to do that in the other versions. I was able to mix in trapdoors with slabs in a way that made it much more space efficient, and I went for something different because I was able to place the stairs upside down. Those simple bits of utility in building have made all the difference. So now that we've seen all three designs, let's just refresh ourselves to be able to compare these directly one after the other. So the alpha version house was actually not as bad as it would have been if I was actually making this house back in 2010, because I've actually taken all of the skills that I've learned over the years and just gone back. So it's not as bad as it could have been, but it was a real struggle to get something that looked semi-decent, especially with all the textures and the poor lighting in it. However, it was very difficult. In beta, it was slightly easier, and you can immediately see the huge improvements just with the trapdoors and the panes alone, and then adding the trim. It actually just made a huge difference, even though pretty much block for block, it is the same, except for obviously those trapdoors. And the dormer is one of the things that is easiest to see where it has transformed. And finally, you can see how I would make this house now. Obviously, it's a very small Minecraft house, so you are limited. If we did this with a much larger project, it would look completely different. But hopefully, you can see the evolution of Minecraft through this very simple house. Even in the background, the setting, the lighting, the different choices that you can make. It all shows how far Minecraft has come in 10 years through building alone. That's not even mentioning all the mobs and farms that are able to be made. Redstone's a completely different thing, but through building this tiny house 3 times, I really appreciate how different it's gotten, from purely survival to the introduction of creative mode in a small list, and what we have today. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a comment what you thought, and goodbye!